Sometimes unexpected things just happen. You think you have this formula and everything should play out that way. And Advent, to be honest, feels like that so often. There's this formula for Advent that we follow, and it just works, and it takes us naturally to Christmas, and everything works out just as we should expect it to. And then every once in a while, it feels like something unexpected comes our way, and it can either be this wonderful surprise or something we just put up with until we get back on schedule and everything works out just the way it's supposed to. And so I wonder for the people of Jesus' day, or maybe I should say the people of John's day, that people were called out into the wilderness. And I have a feeling that they knew what to expect. They had a very good idea of what they would find in the wilderness because they probably heard that it was John, son of Zechariah, the priest, in fact, the high priest, who had been able to be speaking to the people. Why in the world he had to be clear out at the Jordan River, like 8 miles away from Jerusalem, they probably really didn't know, but it was still worth going out to see him. And so they went out, and I would assume that they went out expecting to see the son of a priest, and they would have had a certain amount of expectation. And then they found John. Now, we of course know him as John the Baptist. They wouldn't have called him that yet because they didn't know they were going to be baptized. That also was unexpected on their part. But even before that, they showed up and found John not looking like the son of a priest. They found him dressed completely differently. And it made me wonder a little bit what kind of expectations you might have had, or even that you have sometimes when you go out and you hear someone. So actually, you get to pull out, if you have a smartphone on you, we're actually going to use this as part of our worship service, and you get to take a little survey and help me understand a little bit more about what you're thinking. So there's a QR code up though, or just type into your search engine Menti, MENTI.com, and then you'll see that the code there, 6982-8847. And so if you put that into your phone, Menti should come up, and then you'll have a question that will come up that you can respond to. And this is it. If you were heading out and you were expecting to go out and hear this speaker that was there, and you had traveled out to the Jordan River into the wilderness to hear John, and you saw him dressed in camel's hair and a leather belt around his waist, would you be a little disappointed or more intrigued? Go ahead and you just touch that button on your phone and hit submit, and we'll see what people are thinking. Oh. So if you headed to the desert and found John dressed the way he was, you would be more intrigued. Well, I totally dressed wrong this morning. Man, if I'd have known that, I'd be like wearing cargo shorts and a Coors Light t-shirt if I had an idea that's what you were expecting. That would have been awesome. But there is something about when you get out there and all of a sudden this person is not the way you expected, that apparently for many of you that would draw you in, and you'd want to hear what this person was talking about. And then John would start talking. Now, you might have gone out and you see the way John is dressed, and now you're intrigued, many of you, because John would have been dressed like Ezekiel would have been dressed, maybe even a little bit the way Isaiah the prophet would have been dressed. And so now you're intrigued because you're captured by this prophet of old. But this prophet of old was a person who really spoke for God. And so you really felt when you were out there that you were going to get the message from God. It's like God speaking just passed through the prophet, but it's coming directly to you. And that might be what you were expecting now. For God to take over that message and to make it so real and vibrant for you. And then when you get out there, you realize that John is not talking about a message from God, and he's not even talking about him. You walked all the way out in the wilderness just to hear John say, just wait, somebody more powerful than I is coming. And I wonder if that was the message that you had traveled out thinking you were going to hear this prophet. Our question might be, if you traveled to hear John thinking he was the guy, but then you hear him do nothing but talk about somebody else, again, would you be a little disappointed, or would that just make you more expectant for the guy? I guess I better not talk about John this morning. You'd all be a little disappointed. So you don't mind the way the person's dressed as long as the message is what you expect. Yeah, and John comes out and does not give the message that people expect. John is out talking about one who's yet to come, and they didn't know how soon. John didn't say, just stick around for 12 hours, 48 hours, a week. Nobody knew. John was simply trying to get them ready. That's the challenge of Advent, is we're really not sure what it is are we getting ready for all the time. This might come to surprise to some of you, and I hope this is not too unexpected, but this is not my first Advent. I've actually been through a couple in my lifetime. And every time I go through Advent, I already know what to expect. And actually, as a part of the church, I realize that part of my Advent is really getting everything in order. It's making sure the Advent wreath is ready to go, and making sure that we're decorating. Even all of you who stayed last week and helped decorate, all of these preparations are a part of what we do during Advent. And they're very expected. They're almost programmed out so that we totally know what to expect when we get to Christmas, because everything is so laid out. And I think that happens in our own homes as well. Some of you probably already have the plan laid out in your home. You already have some of the decorations up, and maybe this will be the weekend that you'll finish them up. You put lights out around the house. You know when the baking party is all set. You know when you're going to go shopping, and when you're going to buy the gifts, and when you're going to mail them if the people are not in town. And all of that becomes particularly, decidedly, very much programmed for us. And then John calls us into the wilderness, where things are not so programmed, where things are a little unexpected. And so I wonder sometimes, when we're out there in the world taking care of all of our preparations, if it doesn't feel like we're living in pre-Christmas, but maybe not quite so much Advent. Because in Christmas, I know what to say, or in pre-Christmas, I know what to say, and everything's going to point to Jesus. But sometimes I feel like I might have missed Advent a little bit. And so I think sometimes, let's go to our next question here. I wonder, even during not just this time, but any time, on any given Sunday, do you want to hear a message that uplifts you or convicts you? And kind of, what do you expect? Wow, far more of you are looking for a message that uplifts you. And I have a feeling that like 20 of you probably are saying, I'd really like a message that convicts my neighbor. That's what I really, because I know they need to hear it. And so I really want sometimes, Pastor, just to preach to them, and let's get at it here as a part of what we're doing. But see, the thing is, that's the challenge of Advent. The challenge of Advent is we want to be uplifted because, to be honest, I think we want to live in pre-Christmas. I think we want the packages and all of our shopping to go just right, and all of the baking and all of the parties to be just so. And the challenge for the preacher is that we're supposed to be calling you into the wilderness. We're supposed to be calling you away from all of that. And in the wilderness, you find something unexpected. You find there that you have to confront your sin. You have to find there that you confront even the barriers that you might be building up that prevent you from hearing a Christmas message, that prevent you from really allowing Jesus to break into your life in a new way, because I want to live the way I expect God to come to me, because it's just more comfortable. But John doesn't leave us there. John doesn't leave us in comfort. John says, come and examine yourself. Find out who you really are. Find out the barriers that you might put up toward understanding God or even your neighbor. And the only way to do that is to get away from yourself. Now, I'll tell you this. You can go through Advent and you can live like it's pre-Christmas, and you know what? It'll be just fine. It'll be just fine, and you'll get everything you expect out of Christmas, and truly, that's okay. But maybe, just maybe, you'll dive into the unexpected, and you'll take a different look at yourself, and you'll say, I saw something that I didn't expect to see, and I was able to knock a barrier down. I saw something that I wasn't anticipating, and I was able to make a change. You see, as a pastor, you want me to preach about pre-Christmas because it's uplifting, and I get it. The challenge is, it's Advent, and the wilderness is beckoning you. Maybe even for yourself, risk the unexpected. And you might just encounter God in a new way. Amen.